This may be the first video review of mine that you get to see, so I want to say welcome. I hope these are helpful for you. They, I think, are a good way to review what we've already read in the book. Maybe you've taken the quiz already, maybe you haven't. And that's okay with me. My quizzes pretty much, the quizzes, I'm okay with them being an open book, doing whatever research you want to do. The exams, not as much. But so before we get into that, welcome. I hope these are helpful for you. And the other thing I want to point out about these specific quizzes is that we got these straight out of the book. A bunch of the other classes we made our own questions, but these come straight from the book, so some of the time you'll get to see me roll my eyes and say, why are they asking this question? But I'm thankful that they do have it, and that we've got that as a resource. So without further ado, let's just jump into quiz number 1. And question number 1 is about where MIDI came from. The first two companies that got together in 1982 were Roland and Sequential Circuits. And they were the ones that decided, hey, let's make sure that everybody can talk amongst each other and that we can communicate with our different pieces of equipment. MIDI, the word itself, or acronym, I suppose, stands for Musical Instrument Digital Interface. And the DX7 was the first MIDI-compatible synthesizer that Yamaha came out with. MIDI itself is just a language. It's a syntax. It's a way for these instruments to talk back and forth. So it's a musical description language in binary form, where each binary word describes an action or musical performance. So that's good. You can have 16 simultaneous MIDI channels on one port. So those old school 5-pin cables, they could carry 16 different channels at the same time. Okay. Type 1 and 2 standard MIDI files, they each only had one track per channel. So we're already getting into kind of the nitty-gritty of stuff, but there's a type 0 where you can have more than one channel, but for type 1 and 2, you only have one channel per track. Now, the MIDI through connection, you've got 3 ports on most MIDI devices, especially the old school with those 5-pin connectors. You have in, you have out, which are pretty self-explanatory, but you also have through. And so the MIDI through connection should send a second device to echo the MIDI events from the first device to the third device. So it's a way to travel through another synthesizer to get to wherever it's going. Good. All right. Pin 4 and pin 5 are actually the only pins that are carrying the MIDI information. I don't think we're going to get into this quite as much as we used to, but there are 5 pins, and I think this was a smart thing that they came up with in the MIDI spec when they first started. Hey, we don't know what's going to happen in the future. We might have 5 pins while we're really only using 3 of them. They didn't know at that time that we would have USB cables now and be able to do as much as we want with one USB cable. All right. MIDI uses serial transmission, which just means it's only sending one message at a time and one after the other. I just mentioned USB. The S in USB is Universal Serial Bus. It does the same idea. Hey, let's concentrate on sending one thing at a time and then making sure we make it faster so that these humans don't realize that the machines are only doing one thing at a time. And lastly, it is true that the MIDI Manufacturers Association is the body that recommends practices and uses for MIDI throughout the Technical Standards Board. So they come up with the standards that everybody follows. Excellent. Well, I hope that was helpful. Feel free to watch through this as many times as you want. That's one of the reasons I like to have these as videos up on YouTube and through Blackboard, that you guys can go back and try to re-listen to what I say, maybe do some other research if it interests you. If you're just looking to check your answers on the quiz, then good. All right. Well, thanks for watching. And remember, like the kangaroo always says, at these prices, I'm not surprised.